Hey everyone, thanks for your patience. We had a little glitch there with the tech on my side. I do apologize for that. And let's do a do-over, as sometimes we have to do, and bring Tijen back up. I'm so sorry about that, my friend. That
No
was
problem. Did we lose our people that joined us? Did we lose them also?
We'll lose them, but I left a little note before I shut down the call that we would have to reconnect because I was having a tech issue on my side. Hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah, I see Sandy came back. Hopefully we'll get Ashley back, and I saw someone else plug in right at the end. I'm sorry about that. There we go. Everyone's back.
Good. Welcome back, everybody. Sorry about our technicalities.
Yes. All right. Well, let's jump into it, Tijen. So we've got this awesome talk series this month, every Thursday at this time, to learn more about your neurological approach to coaching and understand how this also can help people build more resilience, right? So what are we talking about today? What should we know before we dive in?
Right. Neurologic approach to coaching is something I developed over the years, and it's quite effective. And I have two of these siblings.
Okay.
The other one, somatic approach to coaching. And I use those things when the neurologic approach, especially when something reactive keep coming up and up again. And even though it's like you know you're not your mother, and you know you're just gonna act like your mother, and you see it and you do it anyway, that sort of a behavior. And then the somatic approach, I use it more to create awareness around how our biology and physiology is responding to the events. Because in the Western world, we are so much focused in the mind and thinking. It's like we are drones floating in our mind and nothing else is happening, right? Until you have a physical issue, then you go to the doctor, and then you're transferring your whole power and autonomy into someone else's hands. So in a way, these approaches I developed to create further awareness and relationship to human system. And when it comes, and I have an upcoming training starts in June, I wanted to show an example to the coaches, if they are interested in some training like that, what can happen to that. And so today's talk, thank you for arranging it, is about, we will use the information and approach to resilience, especially if anybody in our audience watched my 5 Steps to Resilience video.
Yeah, that was great.
Thank you. And it's available on YouTube in my Genco Coaching channel. And there is an article that goes with that. So we decided, the two of us, that we'll talk about each step in throughout the April. And today is about detachment.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. I feel like more than ever, resilience and that holistic perspective of seeing ourselves as connected between mind, body, spirit. It's so important because the world still feels kind of overwhelming. There's a lot going on and a lot to process. And I know between people in my social circle, it just seems like these are the kind of conversations and tools that we need to hear right now. So I'm really excited to learn and experience some things here with you today. And for everyone listening, if you have any questions, observations, input even, include those in the comments. This is a live chat, so we can interact with you all, and Tijen can, you can get some expert opinions and knowledge there from Tijen by sending some questions through the chat to her. So all right, so we've heard a little bit about what the neurological approach is. Would you want to expand on that and explain a little bit more about it?
Sure. In my approach, I have studied neuro-linguistic programming as well as other neurologic approaches to training, including polyvagal theory. And I have certification in yoga meditation and all that. So in my approach, it's a synthesis that there is a part that as a human being, how we learn. And from our childhood, we are being conditioned through our upbringing, through our culture, through our family, and that's where we call it culture, or that's the way we do things. It's good and it's bad, right? That if you learn, let's say, to your backhand in tennis in a wrong way, that's everybody does in your culture, which is not effective and maybe harming your wrist a little bit. You would not recognize what you're doing is wrong if everybody in the culture is doing it the same way until you become participant observer of the culture, or go to somewhere else, or somebody else outside comes in and says to you. So the first then we create as a coach awareness on how we respond to the world outside as a human being. So if everybody in my culture drinking their coffee so hot, even it's going to burn my mouth, but I'm used to it. I'm going to keep doing it, right? And but then we start to feel issues around our behavior, but we still don't know where is that coming from. So one of the levels of awareness is to creating, again, more recognition about how we model our world, how we speak. Are we learning through visual interaction? Are we learning through tactile interaction? How are our thoughts are formed? So there are that aspects. And then there is the nervous system in its entirety. Constantly, our nervous system is like a security camera surveilling environment constantly. Is there a threat? What is happening? But if you, in your upbringing, you learn, you were raised by perfectionist caretakers, for example, right? A lot of us have that. Then what's going to happen is that you're going to see your environment automatically is a hostile environment, because there is going to be a judgment and assessment that's going to be in your nervous system expectation. So therefore it will affect you deeply in everything you do. But again, we don't know what's happening in our nervous system until we have a look at it. So therefore, there is that second aspect in my approach, that I look into what is the nervous system response. So I teach coaches to have that sort of a dialogue, give them a language, give them techniques and methods to interact with their clients, to create that awareness, so that there is a choice becomes available. When we are in the automatic behavior, like that tennis, we're not necessarily making a choice.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The free will is gone. The choice is made by what we learned.
Our subconscious at the end, right?
Yeah. So we need to take a moment and a pause to recognize the behavior, so that choice becomes available. Then we can make an alternate choices.
Yeah.
So that's the other aspect. And then the third aspect comes from the world of esoteric teachings, mindfulness, yoga, and energy management.
Yeah. How important. You said several things there that I'd love to ask some questions about. So one, you mentioned that between the neuro-linguistic programming, the nervous system's reaction,
Correct.
right? And then the esoteric kind of side, use this term, the participant observer. So most of us that are lay people listening, that aren't specialists, maybe we're not even coaches, we can kind of understand what that means. But you, as someone specialized in this field, what does being a participant observer mean to you, and how is that so important to kind of an effective coaching experience with someone?
Yeah, that actually is a beautiful word from Mary Bates, and that she's a cultural anthropologist. And she talks about when we are part of a culture, we are participating. We're not necessarily looking at the behavior. We're so ingrained, we're doing it. Oh, I'm an Italian, I will just do this like that. I'm a Greek, I do this like that. So participant observer is that being inside of whatever the culture is, at the same time being able to distance a little bit yourself and see what's happening, so that in a way you can participate when it makes sense and don't when it doesn't. For example, here in the United States, around the Halloween, people take the pumpkins, they carve them, and they throw them out.
Yeah.
Or they just not carve them and use as a decoration, throw it out. It contributes to the environmental greenhouse gases, and also right in my backyard, about 15 miles from me, there is a soup kitchen, a homeless people.
Mm-hmm.
So I am in this culture. I can see that tradition. I'm not participating in it. I'm observing. And when everybody is putting them out, I collect those pumpkins, make soup, and take it to the soup kitchen. So
That's so beautiful. That's great.
Yeah, I hope that example helps.
Yeah, I think so. So what I'm understanding is, and just to do a little summary here for anyone listening, I'd love to hear what you've understood. Those of you that are participating about this, you can put it in the comments. It's being able to step out of kind of all of those assumptions about the way behaviors or choices or attitudes come through in our life that maybe we've inherited from our culture, which could be our nationalistic culture, could be our regional or family culture, or anything that really defines the way we see the world and reality around us, and be able to step back and almost with curiosity think, is there another way to do this, or is there not a different path forward for certain things? That's what I've understood.
Absolutely beautifully said. Thank you for that. And it's not necessarily always is there another way, but again, giving ourselves a choice.
Sure.
That I, for example, see my neighbor is very environmentally conscious person, and also very much in line with the religious beliefs. So in her belief, environmental beliefs, that she wants to preserve the world around her, but in a religious belief, every year she goes and gets a Christmas tree and throws it up, right? So then at least we can assess what are my values, where do I want to participate, where do I don't want to participate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is this, so we said today we're talking about detachment. Is this related to detachment, or where does detachment come into the picture with neurological coaching?
Right. So the detachment comes into creating space with the neurological or biologic response, the autonomic response. So when we are talking about resilience, and today is I offer my mentor coaching, monthly mentor coaching on Thursday. So today's conversation, I'm going to teach my students about how to coach around wounds. So when, for example, we are wounded in one way, we are very much attached to that. Almost there is no space between that wound and our entire functioning.
Sure.
So then the detachment from the neurologic aspect in coaching is working with the client to create some space between that traumatic event. It could be just a breaking a nail or a much larger thing.
Sure, of course.
So then there is some space, breathing space between the event and the self. Because yes, as a self, we went through an experience, but the self is not the experience. If that is helpful.
Yeah, that is helpful. And do you teach your students how to create that space? Does it go back to something in the body? How does that actually work?
Yes, so I ask questions in a way. I do teach my students and also to my clients, right?
Sure.
What is it that, for example, somebody says, I was told growing up that I am not good enough. And that becomes their identity. Constantly they think that, and they relate to the world around with that thought. So then I start to ask questions to the client so that they start to recognize that the thought. Because when we feel I'm not good enough, we're not recognizing that's just a thought, but that's not me. So then we can ask questions like that. Where does that belief reside in your body? And when that thought comes, what exactly is happening? What is the step by step? If you think yourself like a robot, what are the steps? And what is this? So then I am creating, if you were looking to that thought from outside, what do you see? And so I ask questions to start unwind the person from the thought, which I call it Genco Method Reconstructive Inquiry. That starts to create a space between whatever it is. Maybe it's a thought, maybe it's a somatic, energetic reminiscence of the trauma, whatever it is, so that we start to create this space that I think I gave this in my article, that when somebody gets in a very difficult diagnosis like you, and in unfortunately medical language that use the I-ness, you have cancer. Now all of a sudden you identify with it, right?
Yeah.
Then how do we create the space? In the excuse me, in the moment I am having diagnosis with this illness, I'm experiencing this diagnosis. Now there is a spacious language versus I have this. Yeah. So that's sort of the space.
That's really interesting. I just read recently, I think it was because of April Fool's Day, I read something that says that in traditional Irish expressions, they say, as opposed to saying, I am sad, which would be identifying with the emotion. Some people in Ireland, or maybe historically the Irish, say, sadness is upon me, which would be kind of exemplifying what you're saying, is detaching not identifying with the emotion, or in your example, the sickness, but understanding that it's a condition or something that comes and may go or will go.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. That's really interesting. So I can hear parallels between what you said with the creating the space, both between your culture and being the participant observer, and then with this detachment as well, creating some space to not over-identify with some trauma or something difficult that you may be going through. For anyone that's listening that may have been going through some challenges lately and feeling weighed down by them, what can your approach share with them or give to them as kind of something they can walk away with today, they can apply to their lives?
Yeah, it goes back to the first thing is to changing the language, right? Neuro-linguistic patterns, so that the nervous system recognizes that's not me. And and I think that is a very important first step, because when we are so traumatized by whatever the difficult thing we're going through, we cannot again separate us from that experience, but we are human being having an experience with something, right? And our response to that then becomes taken away from us when we identify with it, and then we become powerless. So in order for us to gain our power back and in-house, even though we may feel less of a power for that experience, there is still a space and a possibility of power in the choice. So I would say start with the language. Notice, listen how I'm languaging this. What is my experience around this? And how can I shift my language towards more embodying power?
Do you have some examples of that? It would be interesting to hear. I'm sure you have lots of experience with different clients and students even that you've worked with. what are some often phrases that we often think are empowering, but really at the root of them, there's something in there that maybe is taking away some of our power? Do you have some examples?
I think that the first thing that come into my mind is that's being used a lot in the cancer diagnosis. I'm a survivor, people say. What does that tell you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have been through an experience like that, and now I carry my health. Is a different languaging than I'm a survivor, or people use the language of battle, right? Battling with cancer, battling with this, battling with that. And so we need to understand the impact of our language and then shift into it's very easy to recognize if you kind of sit in and see how your body reacting to what you're saying.
Okay.
If for example, what might be something that you struggle, Jamie?
Where do I start? Let me think. What would be a good one to share? Well, I think I do struggle sometimes with some automatic negative thoughts that I have to catch.
Okay, so what is your language around that?
Let's see. What is my language around that? Well, I think I would talk about it if I weren't on camera. I'd probably say something like, oh gosh, sometimes I just get thinking about this thing and then it makes me sad and then I'm stuck in it and I can't figure out how to get out.
Okay, you see the stuck in it, I don't know how to get out. But you are creative, resourceful, and whole. How to get out is inside of you, right? So once you now start recognizing that, and if you want to start rephrasing towards feeling the power that resides in you, how would you start at least to change?
How would I start? This is very timely, Tijen, as always. I guess I would start with, I think I would still want to say something like, these thoughts are running through my head and I would like to stop thinking about them and I can focus on things that are more important or matter more to me. It's a little bit difficult to imagine right now how it would be, but something like that.
Of course. But now, feel in your system, Jamie, when you say, I feel stuck in this, what is happening to your, right?
Yeah, it's right here. It's just like a low energy pushing down, taking life away, like the power of life away.
Right. And now think about there is a possibility one day that I will no longer believe to this or whatever that.
Yeah, and it literally feels the opposite direction, like a pulling up.
Yeah. That's what I was saying, that your body recognizes. So pay attention that your somatic responses will tell you how true something is. But that's the best part of our human design.
Yeah, it's like a little secret key if we can slow down and just listen to it and pay attention to it. I see Sandy shared here that she says Hashimoto's warrior is a common term in the autoimmune community.
Yeah. So that tells you you're constant in a battle with something.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. I'm trying to think of a next good question here. What else do you think that we should know about this approach?
I am happy to talk more, but I wondered if anybody has any questions they wanted us to speak more about. Let's check in with people.
All right.
And I can talk about that. There is going to be, absolutely body attacking itself. Yes. I am going to have a free demo coaching session on this. People can find it under Genco Coaching upcoming events. It's going to be April 30th. If they're more interested, I can also answer their questions about upcoming training. That is, And anything else that is happening in your world that you want our audience to know, Jamie?
Oh, and well, Lemon Rebellion, if you haven't been following us yet, hop over to the account on Instagram. It's lemon_rebellion and hang out there. We're getting ourselves reorganized to launch what's next. So for now, just stay connected. That would be really wonderful.
Beautiful.
Good. And Tijen, when is the demo that you're hosting?
April 30th.
April
People can
30th.
find it gencocoaching.com, upcoming
Oh.
events page, and they can register there.
Awesome. Oh, thank you. Very good. Well, it looks like we don't have any questions for the moment, but as always, it's really fun to talk to you, and definitely this was interesting today. A lot of interesting takeaways.
Yeah. And so then the next week, we will be focusing on the second step, which is going to be focusing in the now.
Focusing on the now.
How are we detaching ourselves and the neurologic approach to be able to focus in the now? That's the biggest thing, right? When all of us meditators,
Yeah.
can you sit for a second and be inside of yourself? Right, that's what we're going to be focusing on. So people who are here today, thank you for being here. And if you liked us, come back next week and tell others.
Yeah, next Thursday, same time, same place. We'll be here, and that'll be awesome to talk about being in the now.
Yes, absolutely. So that we will, it's in a way we're preparing people for the spring to the new life, right?
Yeah.
That leaving, like rising through the ashes.
Yeah. We need it. We need the encouragement. We never have enough of this kind of good stuff. So thank you, Tijen. Thank you everyone who came to listen, and we'll catch you next Thursday, same time, same place.
Thank you, Jamie. It's always
Thanks,
fun.
Tijen.
Take care, everybody.
Lots of love. Bye, everyone. Have an awesome
Bye.
day. See you.